this video is about. Single dad took his daughter to the market and accidentally exposed a billionaire's secret. If this story touches your heart, please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting a warm, golden glow over the small town of Willow Creek, Ethan Miller stood at the edge of the bustling market square, surveying the scene with a mix of determination and anxiety. Today was Saturday, and Saturday meant market day, a ritual that had become a cherished tradition for him and his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. The vibrant colors of fresh produce, the intoxicating scent of baked goods, and the laughter of children filled the air, creating an atmosphere that was both lively and comforting. Ethan adjusted the black cap on his head, the brim slightly worn from countless outings under the sun, and glanced down at Lily, who was dancing on the tips of her sneakers, her curly chestnut hair bouncing with each twirl. She wore a bright yellow dress dotted with little daisies, a stark contrast to the more muted tones of the adults around her. Her excitement was infectious. "Daddy, can we get the big strawberries today?" she chirped, her eyes shining with anticipation. "Of course, sweet pea," Ethan replied, a smile spreading across his face. His heart swelled with affection every time he saw her enthusiasm. It reminded him of simpler times, before life had thrown them a series of curveballs. He took her small hand in his, feeling the warmth of her tiny fingers wrap around his much larger palm. "Let's find the stand." As they walked through the market, Ethan couldn't help but notice the vibrant tapestry of people that filled the square. There were the usual vendors, their stalls overflowing with produce, handcrafted goods, and homemade treats, and the regular patrons, many of whom had become familiar faces over the years. But there were also newcomers, faces he didn't recognize, mingling among the locals with an air of curiosity. "Look, Daddy, they have flowers," Lily exclaimed, pointing towards a stall adorned with a riot of colorful blooms. Ethan chuckled at her enthusiasm for all things pretty, but also understood that it was more than just flowers for her. It was a piece of happiness she could grasp amid the chaos that often enveloped their lives. He had promised himself that he'd always try to keep their days as joyful as possible. "Okay, but let's not get too distracted. We need those strawberries first," he said, gently steering her back towards the produce section. As they navigated through the crowd, Ethan's thoughts drifted to the complexities of being a single father. He often felt like he was juggling responsibilities between work, managing the household, and being the best father he could be. Some days, he felt like he was winning, while on others, he struggled to keep his head above water. "Daddy, do you think we can bake a pie with the strawberries?" Lily asked, her voice breaking through his reverie. "Absolutely. We'll make the best pie ever, just like the ones Grandma used to make," he replied, fondly remembering the summer afternoons spent in his mother's kitchen, the sweet aroma of baked goods enveloping them like a warm hug. It was those memories that kept him grounded, even when the weight of single parenthood felt heavy on his shoulders. As they approached the fruit stand, Ethan caught sight of a tall figure in a sharply tailored suit, standing just a few feet away. The man's dark hair was slicked back, and there was an air of confidence about him that made Ethan wary. He recognized him immediately as William Blackwood, the reclusive billionaire who had recently moved to Willow Creek. Ethan had heard the whispers about Blackwood, stories of his wealth, his elusive nature, and his penchant for keeping to himself. "Can we go say hi to him, Daddy?" Lily asked innocently, her gaze fixed on the imposing figure. "No, honey. Remember what I told you about talking to strangers?" Ethan replied, his voice laced with caution. "But he looks nice," she protested, her brows furrowing in disappointment. "Maybe another time, okay? Let's focus on our strawberries," he said, trying to redirect her attention. Little did he know, this decision would mark the beginning of an unexpected turn in their otherwise mundane Saturday. After purchasing several pounds of bright red strawberries, Ethan and Lily made their way towards the exit of the market. Lily clutched the bag tightly, her face beaming with pride as they walked past the now familiar stalls. Just as they were about to leave, a loud commotion erupted nearby. Startled, they turned to see a group of people gathered around the flower stall, where William Blackwood stood, his expression a mix of shock and anger. "What the hell are you doing?" he shouted, his deep voice carrying across the market. The crowd whispered amongst themselves, clearly intrigued by the scene unfolding before them. Ethan instinctively pulled Lily closer, a protective instinct surging within him. He had no desire to get involved in whatever was happening, but part of him felt an involuntary curiosity. "The flowers are dead. You can't sell dead flowers." A middle-aged woman yelled back, her arms crossed defiantly over her chest. "Those are not dead, they're just a little wilted," Blackwood retorted, his face flushed with frustration. Ethan could see the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers twitched at his sides as if he were struggling to maintain control. "Just a little wilted? You've got to be kidding me. I paid good money for these." The woman shot back and the crowd murmured its agreement. To Ethan's surprise, Lily tugged at his hand, her eyes wide with concern. "Daddy, is he going to be okay?" she whispered, her voice barely above a hush. Ethan hesitated, unsure of how to answer. "I think he'll be fine, but he's just having a rough day," he said softly, trying to soothe her worries. But as he watched the confrontation unfold, a realization struck him. This was no ordinary disagreement. There was something more beneath the surface, an undercurrent of tension that hinted at deeper secrets. As Blackwood's voice rose, Ethan could see the frustration in his eyes. "I'm not selling dead flowers. I'm doing my best here." He took a step back, clearly trying to diffuse the escalating situation. Then, unexpectedly, he turned and locked eyes with Ethan. "Can you believe this?" he asked, his tone more exasperated than accusatory. "I'm just trying to support local businesses." Ethan felt a strange compulsion to respond, to somehow bridge the gap between them. "I think we all just want what's best for the community," he replied cautiously, his voice steady as he attempted to ease the tension. "Best for the community?" Blackwood scoffed, his gaze narrowing. "It seems everyone is just looking to tear each other down these days." Ethan was taken aback by the raw emotion in Blackwood's voice. For a moment, he saw a flicker of vulnerability behind the billionaire's confident exterior, a glimpse into a man who had perhaps faced more than just the trivialities of business. "Maybe we could work together to fix this," Ethan suggested tentatively, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him. It was a risky proposition, considering the stakes involved, but something inexplicable pushed him to extend an olive branch. Lily squeezed his hand, her wide eyes shifting between her father and the billionaire as if sensing the shift in the air. For a brief second, time seemed to freeze, and in that moment, Ethan realized that this little exchange might lead to something unforeseen, an unraveling of secrets and connections that would bind their lives together in ways he could never have anticipated. As the crowd continued to murmur, Blackwood's expression softened ever so slightly. "Maybe you're right. Maybe we should try," he began, but just as quickly his bravado returned. "But I'm not here to play politics." Ethan felt a pang of disappointment but remained resolute. "Sometimes it takes a little politics to make things right." Lily tugged on his hand again. "Can we go home now, Daddy? I want to bake our pie." Ethan nodded, his heart still pounding from the confrontation. "Yeah, let's go home," he said, glancing back at Blackwood one last time before leading Lily away. As they walked through the market, the weight of their encounter lingered in the air, a strange mix of curiosity and uncertainty. Little did they know that this seemingly small moment would set off a chain of events, exposing secrets that would change everything they thought they knew about their town and the people who inhabited it. And as Ethan and Lily headed home, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows behind them, a prelude to the unfolding drama that lay just ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple as Ethan and Lily made their way home. The market square, once filled with laughter and chatter, was now quieting down, the last shouts of sellers calling out to late customers fading into the evening air. In the distance, the sounds of crickets began to emerge, serenading the close of another day. Ethan felt a peculiar tension still coiling in his stomach, a weight that seemed to grow heavier with each step. He stole a glance at Lily, who was carefully counting the strawberries in their bag, her small voice bubbling with excitement as she recounted how they would create the perfect pie together. The innocence of her chatter grounded him, but he could not shake the feeling that their encounter with William Blackwood had stirred something far deeper than a simple market dispute. "Daddy, do you think Mr. Blackwood is a good guy?" Lily asked, her voice thoughtful as she captured a particularly large strawberry, its red skin glistening in the fading light. Ethan sighed, the question echoing in his mind. "I think he's just a man like any of us. Everyone has their struggles, honey," he replied, trying to simplify the complexities of adulthood for her. "Maybe he just has a different way of showing it. Like when you're grumpy after a long day," she suggested, a grin spreading across her face. "Exactly," he chuckled, the warmth of her laughter easing some of the tension that had settled in his chest. "But I promise I'm not a billionaire. Maybe one day you will be," she joked, her eyes sparkling. "You could buy all the toys in the world." Ethan laughed again, a genuine sound that felt foreign after the weight of the day's events. "I think I'd rather bake pies with you than buy toys, even if I were a billionaire." As they approached their modest home, a small two-story house with peeling blue paint and a rickety porch swing, the familiar sight filled him with a sense of comfort. It was a home that had witnessed laughter and tears, a refuge from the chaotic world outside. "Come on, sweet pea. Let's get to the kitchen before those strawberries turn into mush," he said, nudging her playfully as they stepped inside. The moment they crossed the threshold, the cozy smell of vanilla from the candles he had lit earlier enveloped them. It was one of Lily's favorite scents, often reminiscent of the countless baking sessions they had shared. "Do we have everything we need?" Lily asked, her hands reaching for the ingredients lined up on the countertop. Flour, sugar, butter, and a bowl, all neatly arranged. "Check the pantry for the pie crust," Ethan instructed, pulling out the strawberries to wash them. A part of him relished these moments, simple yet profound, where their bond deepened through shared experiences. As Lily rummaged through the pantry, her small frame disappearing behind the door, Ethan turned on the radio, letting soft music fill the air. For a moment, he allowed himself to drift back to the chaos of the market, to the urgency in Blackwood's voice, the way the billionaire had seemed so human in his frustration. After a moment, Lily reappeared, proudly holding a pre-made pie crust. "Found it," she exclaimed, her triumphant eyes glimmering. "Great job, now let's make our filling." He guided her step by step, ensuring she felt like an integral part of the process. They washed the strawberries together, and as they sliced the fruit, Lily began to share her thoughts about school, her friends, and the little adventures she longed to embark on. "Daddy, I want to have a sleepover with my friends soon. We could tell scary stories." She beamed, her excitement palpable. "Scary stories, huh? Do you think you'd be able to sleep after that?" Ethan teased, carefully blending the strawberries with sugar and cornstarch. He remembered his own childhood sleepovers, the mixture of fear and thrill that came from sharing ghost stories under a blanket fort. "Of course I can handle it," she declared, her brows furrowing with determination. Ethan chuckled. "All right, but let's keep the monsters to a minimum, okay?" As the pie began to come together, the familiar warmth of their kitchen embraced them. The music turned to a soft ballad, a slow tune that swirled in the background, creating a cocoon of comfort. "Can I do the pouring, Daddy?" Lily asked, her voice a mix of eagerness and pride. "Of course. Just be careful not to make a mess," he replied, stepping back and letting her take the lead. As she poured the strawberry mixture into the crust, a sudden knock at the door interrupted their rhythm. Ethan's heart sank. Who could it be? He glanced at Lily, who looked equally curious but unperturbed. "I'll get it," he said, wiping his flour-covered hands on a dish towel. He opened the door to reveal William Blackwood standing on the porch, an enigmatic figure silhouetted against the last remnants of twilight. "Mr. Blackwood." Ethan stuttered, surprised. He had half expected to see a neighbor or perhaps a stray delivery person, not the billionaire who had stirred chaos just hours earlier. "Ethan Miller," Blackwood acknowledged, his expression unreadable. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Oh, we were just," Ethan began, glancing back at Lily, who stood frozen, eyes wide as she beheld the man she had wished to meet. "It's pie-making day." A flicker of amusement crossed Blackwood's features. "I see. Well, I won't keep you long. I just wanted to apologize for my outburst earlier. That wasn't how I wanted to present myself to the community." Lily, ever the inquisitive one, stepped forward. "Why were you so upset? It was just flowers." Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief, but Blackwood seemed taken aback by her straightforwardness. "Well, sometimes things aren't as simple as they appear. I've invested a lot into this community, and I care about it deeply. I guess I just lose my temper when things go awry." "I understand that," Ethan said cautiously, feeling a strange kinship with the man before him. "Sometimes it's hard to juggle everything." Blackwood nodded, his shoulders relaxing slightly. "Exactly. I thought coming here would be a fresh start, but it seems I keep making waves." Lily, sensing the tension dissolve, tugged at Ethan's shirt. "Can you help him, Daddy? Maybe he can help us with the pie." Ethan couldn't help but smile at her innocence. "That's a wonderful idea, Lily. Would you like to help us make a pie, Mr. Blackwood?" Caught off guard, Blackwood hesitated, the corner of his mouth twitching upwards. "I've never made a pie before, but I suppose there's a first time for everything." "Yay," Lily squealed, her infectious enthusiasm filling the room, and Ethan felt the tension of the earlier encounter evaporate like morning dew. As Blackwood stepped into their modest kitchen, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their lives were about to intertwine in ways he had never anticipated. They might be from different worlds, one a struggling single dad and the other a billionaire. But within the walls of their home, they were simply three people gathering around a table to create something beautiful together. And as Lily directed the chaos of flour and strawberries, laughter filling the air, Ethan couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this unexpected meeting would lead to more than just an awkward apology and a pie. Perhaps it could blossom into something that would change the fabric of their lives forever. Secrets unraveled, connections forged, and a deeper understanding of what it truly meant to be part of a community. The shadows of the day faded away, and in their place, a new beginning unfurled, ripe with possibilities. As William Blackwood stepped into Ethan's kitchen, the warmth of the space enveloped him like a comforting blanket, a stark contrast to the cool, calculating air that often surrounded him in his world. The humble surroundings were a world away from the opulent life he was accustomed to. Yet there was something soothing about it, something that felt distinctly human. "All right, so what's the first step?" Blackwood asked, raising his hands uncertainly as he approached the counter where Lily was bouncing on her toes, her face lit with excitement. "First, you have to wash your hands," Lily declared, her authoritative tone earning an amused chuckle from Ethan. The little girl had taken on the role of mini-chef with gusto, and Ethan couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as he watched her direct the scene with unrestrained enthusiasm. Blackwood chuckled softly, nodding as he went to the sink. "Right, hygiene first, good call. Do you have a favorite pie?" Lily asked, her innocent curiosity unfazed by the billionaire's imposing stature. "I can't say I've had many pies," he admitted, his tone surprisingly humble. "Maybe this will be my first." Ethan watched, a mixture of disbelief and amusement on his face. The man was a billionaire, and yet here he was, about to bake a pie in a small kitchen with a child. It was not the image that had often accompanied Blackwood's name in his mind. As Blackwood washed his hands, Ethan turned to Lily, who was now reaching for the strawberries, her small fingers gently selecting the ripest ones from their bowl. "What do you think, Pumpkin? Should we let Mr. Blackwood know what goes into the filling?" "Yes," Lily exclaimed, her eyes shining. "We need to mash them." "Okay, but I think I'll need a little guidance," Blackwood said, wiping his hands and joining them at the counter. "I'm not quite sure what I'm doing." Ethan felt an unexpected sense of camaraderie with the billionaire. There was something disarming about Blackwood's willingness to embrace this moment, to step outside of his carefully curated world and be vulnerable. "Lily's the expert here. Just follow her lead," Ethan encouraged, feeling the walls between them begin to crumble. "All right, Chef Lily, what's next?" Blackwood asked, squatting down to meet her eye level, intrigue evident in his voice. Lily beamed, clearly relishing the attention. "We have to mash the strawberries, but first, can I show you how to cut them?" "Lead the way," Blackwood replied, leaning in closer. As they set to work, Ethan felt a wave of nostalgia hit him. He remembered moments in his own childhood kitchen, learning from his mother, her laughter a soothing backdrop to the joy of creating something together. Watching Lily and Blackwood interact, Ethan felt a sense of connection to both of them, an unexpected intertwining of their lives that had begun with chaos, but was now growing into something more profound. "Okay, Mr. Blackwood, watch closely," Lily instructed, demonstrating how to slice through the strawberries. "You have to be careful with the knife, like this." "I see," Blackwood said, glancing at Ethan with a smirk. "I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a lot more practice if I want to be a chef like you." "Don't worry," Lily said earnestly. "You can practice with us. Next time we can make cookies." The prospect of another baking session seemed to brighten Blackwood's demeanor. "I would love that. Cookies sound great." Ethan interjected. "You might want to bring a fire extinguisher for the first few attempts." Blackwood laughed heartily, the sound filling the room. It was as if a spell had been cast over them, allowing the tension from earlier to dissipate completely. The barriers of status and wealth faded away, replaced by the warmth of shared experiences. "All right," Ethan said, stepping forward. "Who's ready to mash the strawberries?" "I am," Lily shouted, her enthusiasm palpable. "Let's get to it then." Ethan handed her a potato masher, feeling a rush of joy as she began to work, her little arms straining to press down on the vibrant fruit. "You know, Mr. Blackwood, I think you've got some new competition in the kitchen," he teased, watching Lily's face light up with determination. "Not at all," Blackwood replied, shaking his head. "She's a pro. I'm just here for comic relief." Ethan couldn't help but admire the billionaire's ability to let go of his usual facade. It was refreshing to see him engage in such a simple activity, one that his wealth had likely insulated him from. "Sometimes, it's the simple things in life that matter the most," Ethan observed, feeling a sense of kinship with the man who had once seemed so distant. "Believe me, I'm beginning to understand that," Blackwood replied, sincerity ringing clear in his voice. It's easy to lose sight of what truly matters when you're surrounded by chaos. His eyes flickered briefly to Ethan, a shared understanding passing between them. Lily, oblivious to the tension in the air, squealed in delight as she held up the mashed strawberries. "Look, Daddy, they're ready." Ethan smiled, proud of his daughter's accomplishment. "They look amazing." "All right, let's pour this into the pie crust," Blackwood said, his tone shifting as if he were fully committing to their little kitchen venture. As they poured the filling into the crust, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that both he and Blackwood were undergoing a transformation. For Blackwood, it was a rare glimpse into a life less polished, while for Ethan, it was a moment of hope, the realization that even in the most unlikely of circumstances, connections can form that challenge preconceived notions. "Now we need to make the top crust," Lily said, her brow furrowing in concentration. Ethan guided her, showing her how to roll out the dough. Blackwood watched with fascination, occasionally jumping in with questions. "What's that ingredient for?" "Sugar and cinnamon," Lily answered, her excitement bubbling over. "It makes it taste good." As they worked side by side, Ethan felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over him. They were not just baking a pie, they were creating memories, stitching together lives that had once seemed disparate and undone. "Do you have kids, Mr. Blackwood?" Lily suddenly asked, her innocence causing both adults to pause. Blackwood's expression shifted, a shadow flitting across his face. "I don't," he admitted quietly, "but I've always admired the bond between parents and their children." "Why not?" Lily pressed, her small voice tinged with genuine curiosity. Ethan caught Blackwood's gaze, recognizing the vulnerability in his eyes. "Sometimes life takes you in unexpected directions," Blackwood replied, his voice softer now. "But I think I'm learning about that bond through you too." "Good," Lily said, her enthusiasm undeterred by his somber tone. "Everyone should have fun, right, Daddy?" "Absolutely," Ethan affirmed, feeling the warmth of Lily's innocent belief in connection. Just then the oven timer chimed, signaling the pie was ready to go in. "Let's make this masterpiece," Ethan exclaimed, his heart buoyed by the shared joy of creation. As they carefully placed the pie in the oven, a sense of calm enveloped them. It was a simple moment, yet it felt monumental, three individuals from different walks of life coming together, creating and laughing, the chaos of the outside world momentarily forgotten. "While we wait, how about some lemonade?" Ethan suggested, feeling a burgeoning sense of solidarity with the billionaire. "Lemonade sounds perfect," Blackwood agreed, a smile returning to his face. As Ethan poured 3 glasses, he felt a sense of rightness in the air. Life was unpredictable, often chaotic, but in this moment, the warmth of connection wrapped around them like a soft blanket. When the pie finally emerged, golden and bubbling, it was as if they had birthed something remarkable together, a tangible testament to their time spent in each other's company. "Look at that," Lily exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder as they admired their creation. "It's beautiful," Blackwood said, his voice tinged with awe. Ethan felt a rush of pride swell in his chest. "And you were instrumental in making it." Lily clapped her hands, her joy infectious. "Now we need to taste it." As they sat around the kitchen table, the pie cooling between them, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter had been the catalyst for something larger. As Blackwood shared stories from his past, recounting his childhood adventures and the lessons learned along the way, Ethan felt the invisible threads of connection weaving tighter between them. "I've spent too long hiding behind my wealth," Blackwood admitted, his voice steady. "I'm beginning to realize there's so much more to life than business deals and board meetings." "Family and community," Ethan added, nodding in agreement. "That's where the real joy is." Lily, content to listen to the adult conversations, chimed in. And pies. Pies are important too. Laughter erupted, filling the kitchen with warmth as Ethan leaned back in his chair, observing the transformation in Blackwood. The guarded billionaire, who had only hours ago seemed like an untouchable figure of wealth and power, was now animated, sharing tales of childhood mischief. Ethan could see the subtle shifts in Blackwood's demeanor, the way the lines of tension in his forehead had softened, and the slight laugh lines at the corners of his mouth had deepened in the moment's joy. Once my brother and I convinced our neighbors that a family of raccoons had taken over their garage, Blackwood said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. We hid in the bushes and made all sorts of noises. They were terrified. Turns out it was just a stray cat who liked to rummage through their trash. But oh, the look on their faces. Lily was enraptured, her little body leaning forward, hanging onto every word. What did they do? She asked, eyes wide, as if she were hearing the most thrilling of fairy tales. They called the animal control, and when they arrived, they found nothing but an empty garage. My brother and I nearly got caught hiding in the bushes. We had to run home before they saw us. Blackwood laughed, the sound genuine and hearty, echoing in the cozy kitchen. And of course, we never admitted to it. Ethan chuckled at the thought of a young Blackwood plotting such mischief. Seems like you had quite the adventurous spirit. Maybe I should have stuck with that, Blackwood mused, a shadow of nostalgia crossing his face. Somewhere along the line, I let the business world swallow that part of me whole. It's never too late to find it again, Ethan said, his tone encouraging. You're here making pie with us. True, Blackwood replied, his eyes flicking to Lily, who was now inspecting the pie as if it were a precious artifact. This is a first for me. I see why you enjoy these moments, Ethan. Lily turned, her hands clasped beneath her chin. Daddy says it's about being happy with the people you love. Right, Daddy? Absolutely, sweetheart, Ethan affirmed, pride swelling in him. Not just for Lily, but for the way Blackwood was beginning to engage with the simplicity of their lives. It's about building connections, whether in big ways or small. Connections, Blackwood echoed, his expression thoughtful. That's something I've always struggled with. I've had plenty of business partners, but real friends, that's a different matter. Lily piped up, You're our friend now, right, Daddy? Ethan chuckled at her sincerity. I suppose so, Mr. Blackwood. You can't back out now. There's a pie at stake. Blackwood smiled, a genuine warmth spreading across his face. I'd be honored to be considered a friend, especially after sharing this pie. The conversation flowed naturally as they waited for the pie to cool. Ethan felt comfortable sharing stories about Lily's latest antics at school, recounting her recent success in a spelling bee. Blackwood listened, genuinely invested, asking questions and laughing at the right moments. It was a dynamic that Ethan had not anticipated, but one that felt easy and right. Daddy, can I tell him about the time I turned my hair blue? Lily asked, her face lighting up with excitement. Maybe save that for later, sweet pea. Some stories are best told over time, Ethan teased, though he was secretly delighted at her energy. Fine, she pouted playfully. But it was an accident. I didn't mean for it to happen. Blackwood raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Oh, now I have to know this story. Ethan shook his head with a smile. It involves a very ambitious art project and an unfortunate mix-up with hair dye. Lily giggled. And it turned out really cool, but my teacher didn't think so. Your teacher must not appreciate creativity, Blackwood countered with a teasing grin. Their laughter rang through the kitchen, filling the space with an unexpected warmth that banished the remnants of the earlier tension. It was a moment where the boundaries of wealth and status blurred, replaced by something more profound, a shared humanity. As the pie cooled, Ethan offered to set the table. How about we serve it with some ice cream, or maybe whipped cream? "Whipped cream, please," Lily exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. "Whipped cream it is," Ethan said, rising from the table to gather the necessary supplies from the fridge. As he moved about the kitchen, he noticed Blackwood quietly observing, a contemplative look on his face. "Is it always this lively here?" Blackwood asked, his voice low, almost introspective. "Pretty much," Ethan replied, feeling the weight of the billionaire's question. "Lily brings a certain energy that lights up the room. It's hard not to get caught up in it." "I can see that," Blackwood said. "I think I've missed out on this kind of life. I've spent so many years focused on the wrong things." "Life has a funny way of teaching us lessons," Ethan remarked, sensing the vulnerability in Blackwood's admission. "Sometimes the simplest moments bring the greatest joy. Or the greatest regrets," Blackwood added quietly, the shadows returning to his features for a brief moment. "I've sacrificed a lot for success, but sometimes I wonder if the cost was too high." Ethan paused, contemplating the weight of those words. What if you started anew? You could redefine what success means to you. Blackwood seemed to consider the suggestion, the flicker of hope igniting in his eyes. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time to find balance, work and life. Like this moment here." Lily rushed back into the room, her hands outstretched with 2 bowls in her tiny grip, oblivious to the deeper conversation. "Look, I can help serve." Ethan smiled at her determination, a reminder of how simple joys could bridge the most profound gaps. Together, they filled the bowls with generous servings of whipped cream, the sweet scent of sugar filling the air. "All right, pie is served," Ethan announced, cutting into the golden crust with pride. The filling spilled out, glistening with the promise of a delicious treat. "Wow, it looks amazing," Lily squeaked, her eyes wide as she watched Ethan plate the first slice. As they settled back at the table, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. He had created something more than a pie. He had cultivated a moment of connection that bridged differences and formed unexpected alliances. "Here's to new friends and new beginnings," he said, raising his fork as if making a toast. Blackwood followed suit, a genuine smile gracing his features. "And to the surprises life brings us." "And pie," Lily added, her voice ringing with childlike exuberance. With laughter echoing around the table, they dug into the pie, the rich flavors bursting in their mouths, a delightful culmination of their day's efforts. As they savored the sweet treat, Ethan realized that in this small kitchen, they were weaving a tapestry of stories, past regrets, present friendships, and future possibilities. And he understood that perhaps, just perhaps, their lives had taken an unexpected turn for the better that Saturday afternoon. With each bite of the pie, there was a sense of hope that lingered in the air, a hope that would lead them down paths yet to be explored, bringing with them the promise of connection, healing, and the joy of unexpected friendships. And as the sun dipped below the horizon outside their small kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the trio, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a remarkable journey, one that would intertwine their lives in ways they could never have anticipated.